Sylvester Stallone has always been a symbol of grit, determination, and larger-than-life heroism. But recently, the legendary actor revealed something that has left fans and critics speechless. Stallone claimed he had a life-changing encounter with none other than Jesus Christ, just 6 days before making the revelation public. Known for his action-packed roles, this shocking statement seems like a dramatic twist straight out of one of his movies. But it's real, and Stallone insists it happened. What's even more fascinating is the message he says Jesus gave him. A message so profound, it's reshaping how he views his life and purpose. Could this be a genuine divine experience, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Sylvester Stallone has always been a larger-than-life figure. You think of him, and instantly images of Rocky and Rambo come to mind. This tough guy persona that has defined his career for decades. But let me tell you, something really unexpected happened recently, and it has nothing to do with his movies. It's not about a new sequel or some over-the-top action scene. Nope. Stallone dropped a bombshell that left everyone talking. He claimed he met Jesus. Yes, Jesus. And it wasn't some casual remark either. He said it with the kind of conviction that makes you stop whatever you're doing and just listen. Apparently, this meeting happened 6 days before Stallone spoke about it, and from the way he described it, it wasn't just some fleeting moment or vague feeling. Stallone made it sound personal, almost as if Jesus himself stepped into his world and said, "We need to talk." Think about that for a second. This Hollywood legend who's known for punching his way through life on the big screen now telling us that he had this divine, life-altering experience. What's even more intriguing is how he set the stage for this revelation. He didn't shy away from sharing the details, but at the same time, he left enough mystery to make people wonder. So how did it happen? Stallone hasn't gone into every single detail, but from what he shared, it wasn't in a church or a traditional spiritual setting. That's the thing about stories like this. They never happen where you expect them to. Was it a dream? A vision? Or something even more extraordinary? He didn't outright say. And honestly, that makes it even more fascinating. It's the kind of thing that makes you sit up and go, "Wait, what? Tell me more." What really stands out is how this encounter ties into Stallone's life. If you followed him at all, you know he's had his share of ups and downs. There's the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, sure, but there's also been struggle. Personal, professional, and spiritual. Stallone's talked before about his faith and how it's guided him through some tough times. This isn't the first time he's opened up about his spiritual side. Remember, this is the guy who once said he believes his success is a gift from God, but this is on another level entirely. The public reaction to his claim has been wild, as you can imagine. Social media exploded. Some people are all in, saying it's a beautiful story of faith and inspiration. Others, well, let's just say the skeptics didn't hold back. You've got memes, debates, and everything in between. And honestly, isn't that just so typical of the world we live in? People either love it or pick it apart. There's no middle ground. But regardless of where you stand on the whole thing, one thing's for sure. Stallone's claim has everyone talking. It's not every day you hear a story like this, especially from someone as high profile as Stallone. And if you think about it, it adds this whole new layer to his persona. Here's a guy who's built a career on grit and determination, now sharing something so deeply personal and, let's face it, pretty vulnerable. It's like seeing a completely different side of him, one that's not about action sequences or Hollywood fame, but about something much deeper. So here's where things get even more fascinating. It wasn't just the fact that Sylvester Stallone claims to have met Jesus. It's what Jesus supposedly told him that's got everyone buzzing. Now, before we get into the specifics, just imagine being in Stallone's shoes for a second. You're this huge celebrity with decades of fame, fortune, and a life most people can only dream about. Then, out of nowhere, you have this profound experience that shakes you to your core. And the words Jesus shared with him? They weren't just casual chit-chat. According to Stallone, it was something meaningful, something that hit him right in the heart. From what Stallone has hinted at, Jesus didn't come to him with some generic, feel-good message. No, it was personal. He described it as a moment of clarity, a wake-up call, if you will. Stallone said that the message was all about redemption and purpose, big themes that seemed to resonate with his life and career. And let's be real, those themes aren't just random when it comes to Stallone. Think about the characters he's played. Rocky Balboa, for instance, is literally the embodiment of second chances, of rising after every fall. It's almost like his career has been building up to this moment. What's really interesting is how Stallone seems to have taken this message to heart. He's always been someone who thrives on determination and grit. But this feels different. It's not about fighting the next big battle or conquering the box office. It's more about introspection, about looking at life through a completely different lens. Stallone described the experience as humbling, like it reminded him of what truly matters. And honestly, that kind of reflection is refreshing, especially coming from someone who's lived such a larger-than-life existence. But here's the kicker. Stallone hasn't revealed every single word of what Jesus supposedly told him, and maybe that's intentional. By leaving some details out, he's almost inviting us to fill in the blanks, to reflect on what we think the message could be. It's like he's saying, this isn't just about me. This is something bigger. And that's what's so compelling about his story. It's deeply personal, but it's also universal in a way that makes you think about your own life, your own purpose. Of course, not everyone is buying it. Critics have been quick to question the whole thing. Some people are saying it's a publicity stunt, while others are accusing Stallone of exaggerating or even imagining the experience. But when you listen to him talk about it, you can tell he's not just throwing words around. There's this sincerity in his voice, this genuine belief that makes you pause and think, what if he's telling the truth? And even if you're skeptical, it's hard to ignore the impact this moment has had on him. Stallone also mentioned that the message he received wasn't just for him, it was something he felt compelled to share with the world. He's hinted that it might influence his future projects, maybe even his personal life, and you can see why. If you believe you've just had a conversation with Jesus, it's not exactly the kind of thing you keep to yourself. It's the kind of moment that changes everything, that redefines how you see yourself and the world around you. What's even more mind-blowing about all this is how Sylvester Stallone's life has been impacted since this alleged encounter. You can tell something's shifted in him. It's not just in what he's saying, but in how he's saying it. There's this sense of purpose now, like he's walking around with a deeper understanding of who he is and why he's here. It's almost like he's carrying a message for all of us, and he's trying to figure out the best way to deliver it. Now, Stallone has always been someone who works hard and gives his all, whether it's in his movies or his personal life. But after this experience, he seems to be focusing more on the bigger picture. He's talked about the importance of redemption, not just for himself, but for everyone. And when you think about it, that's such a powerful concept. We all make mistakes, we all fall short, but the idea that there's always a chance to turn things around, that resonates deeply. What's fascinating is how the public has responded to all of this. You've got people who are completely inspired by Stallone's words, saying it's a reminder of the power of faith and the possibility of divine encounters. Religious communities have embraced his story, seeing it as a way to reach more people with messages of hope and salvation. On the other hand, there are skeptics who just can't wrap their heads around it. They're calling it a publicity stunt, or dismissing it as a midlife crisis moment. And honestly, that reaction is expected. We live in a time where people question everything, especially when it comes to matters of faith. But here's the thing. Whether you believe Stallone or not, you can't deny the effect his story has had. It's made people stop and think, which in itself is pretty remarkable. How often does a Hollywood star come out with something so deeply personal and spiritual that it makes headlines around the world? It's a rare moment where the glitz and glamour of celebrity life take a backseat to something much more profound. Stallone has also hinted that this experience might influence his work moving forward. Can you imagine a Stallone movie with a deeper spiritual undertone? It's not that far-fetched when you think about it. His films have always been about perseverance, fighting the good fight, and overcoming impossible odds. This new chapter in his life could take those themes to an entirely new level. And who knows, maybe this is just the beginning of something even bigger for him. At the end of the day, what really sticks with me is how personal and yet universal Stallone's story feels. He didn't have to share this experience. He could have kept it to himself, but he chose to put it out there, knowing full well that not everyone would believe him. That takes courage. And whether you see it as a genuine spiritual encounter, a moment of self-discovery, or even just an interesting Hollywood tale, it's got people talking about things that really matter: faith, purpose, and redemption.